Svarog stood at the dawn of Slavic myth, not as a whisper among many spirits, but as the forge fire that ignited the cosmos and shaped the earliest beliefs of the people who watched stars and listened to thunder. In this ancient vision, he was not merely a god of fire and smithing, but the very principle of heavenly flame that drew warmth and light from the void, giving birth to both sun and spark. His image was invoked wherever fire was stirred: hearths, forges, lightning-split trees, and the glowing embers that survived night's descent. Thus began the myth of Svarog, the divine craftsman who brought order to chaos and fire to the world, a figure of awe whose legacy would be woven into the sky itself. The name Svarog itself carries echoes of ancient language, connected linguistically to roots meaning to quarrel or to burn, suggesting both conflict and fire entwined at the heart of his being. Early scholars and linguists have traced theonym variants to Proto-Slavic sovero, signifying heat, flame, and radiant intensity, and possibly even to the Indo-Iranian Svarga, the celestial realm of light and divinity. These linguistic threads reveal how Svarog's identity embodied both the creative and destructive aspects of fire, a force that transforms and refashions rather than simply consumes. In later interpretations, this divine name became synonymous with the very notion of celestial fire that underpins cosmic renewal. Svarog's dominion extended beyond simple flame. He was the celestial smith who worked at the highest reaches of the heavens, fashioning stars, forging divine tools, and crafting the heavenly realm itself. He was compared by medieval chroniclers to Hephaestus and other smith gods of world myth, indicating his role as creator and maintainer of order through craftsmanship rather than mere word or dream. In these tales, the sound of hammer on anvil echoed like distant thunder, connecting his art to both sky and storm. The Slavic people saw in him the embodiment of creative power made physical, a hands-on architect of both divine implements and human destiny. From Svarog's celestial forge came not only the fire of creation itself, but also the lineage of gods who would shape the world's lesser domains. His offspring, figures like Dazbog, the radiant sun god, and the fiery Svarojic, inherited aspects of his power and expanded upon them, bringing light, warmth, and life to the world below. These divine descendants embodied specific facets of Svarog's creative force: the sun's steady glow, the unpredictable flicker of fire, and the vigor of human society. In this way, the mythic family of fire gods reflected the many faces of flame, from the hearth to the heavens. According to mythic tradition, Svarog's greatest act as celestial smith was the forging of the sun itself, a blazing orb of fire and life that would chase away nights and mantle the world in warmth. This mighty forge fire did not merely produce a light, but established the rhythm of days and seasons, tying cosmic order to the mortal experience of time and growth. Stars, it was said, were sparks blown high from his hammer blows, brilliant pinpricks of living light fixed forever in the velvet darkness above. Svarog's forge became the heart of the cosmos, a center of creation whose influence pulsed through every dawn and dusk. Svarog's gifts were not reserved for gods alone. From his divine furnace came the knowledge of fire itself, how to access it, control it, and create it for mortal use. He taught people the secrets of blacksmithing, showing them how to fashion the first plows, axes, and tools that would shape their civilizations. Through him, fire became not only a heavenly symbol, but a practical force for cooking food, forging weapons, and forging communities through shared labor. This act of teaching bound Svarog to human progress as deeply as to celestial craft. Beyond his role as smith and creator, Svarog was also revered as the bringer of order, the divine originator of law and social harmony. Ancient texts hint that he established the first marital laws and codes of conduct, elevating fire from physical tool to symbol of cosmic justice. Where disorder reigned and bonds faltered, it was believed Svarog's influence could restore balance through the discipline of law and the commitment of shared hearth. In the fiery crucible of his forge, both metals and mortal relationships were tempered and tested. The hammer and anvil became signifiers of Svarog's power, not just as tools of creation, but as emblems of divine order and cosmic rhythm. Sacred animals such as eagle and horse were associated with him, representing skyward flight and dynamic movement akin to the sparks that fly from his forge. The spinning wheel, or kolovrat, a solar swastika, symbolized his dominion over the sun's cycle and cosmic order, its arms radiating like solar rays touching every part of life. Through these symbols, his presence was woven into everyday life. From ritual garments to pottery and festive pyres, Svarog's worship was not confined to isolated sanctuaries, but was spread across sacred high places, groves, and hearthfire circles among Slavic peoples. Fire and solar rituals dedicated to him occurred at the solstices and equinoxes, times when celestial light and shadow intertwined most visibly. Ceremonial flames kindled in his honor were more than ritual artifice. They were literal sparks connecting the earthly world to Svarog's heavenly forge. Through these practices, people sought his favor for warmth, prosperity, and harmonious life. In some traditions, Svarog was described as sovereign over Svarga, a celestial realm where ancestors and spirits of old resided among stars and firelight. This blue heaven was not distant, but part of a layered cosmos in which the departed watched over the living from above. Stars themselves were envisioned as ancestral watchers, eyes of ancient ones illuminating human struggles and triumphs. Through Svarga, Svarog tied the living world to ancestral wisdom and cosmic continuity. Mythic tales sometimes expand Svarog's creative acts into cosmic narratives where world creation manifests through elemental forces like fire and earth. Some poetic retellings describe a cosmic egg or primal stone, sometimes carried by a mythical duck, whose fracturing released sparks that became gods, stars, and worlds. Though not universally attested, such motifs suggest how deeply intertwined fire and creation were in Slavic imagination. In these visions, Svarog's hammer did not merely craft metal, but shaped the very marrow of existence. Svarog's realm was the sky itself, not only as a source of light and warmth, but as a space of divine order intersecting with mortal life. He was conceptualized as harnessing the celestial forces that bound the world together, ensuring the sun's rising and the cycle of seasons. Where other gods might govern narrower spheres, Svarog's domain spanned sky, fire, and law, a panoramic rule that shaped weather, agriculture, and human society alike. In this vision, the heavens were his workshop and mortal life his beneficiary. Svarog's realm was the sky itself, not only as a source of light and warmth, but as a space of divine order intersecting with mortal life. He was conceptualized as harnessing the celestial forces that bound the world together, ensuring the sun's rising and the cycle of seasons. Where other gods might govern narrower spheres, Svarog's domain spanned sky, fire, and law, a panoramic rule that shaped weather, agriculture, and human society alike. In this vision, the heavens were his workshop, and mortal life his beneficiary. Ancient lore sometimes speaks of the forge as the heart of all creation, a singular focal point where fire and spirit converged. In such tales, Svarog's hammer blows echoed through the cosmos, not just shaping tools but awakening life. These stories portray creation as collaborative, yet anchored in fire's transformative power, underlining Svarog's role as both craftsman and cosmic agent. While details vary across regions, the core idea remains clear. The sacred fire birthed worlds and life within them, Ancient lore sometimes speaks of the forge as the heart of all creation, a singular focal point where fire and spirit converged. In such tales, Svarog's hammer blows echoed through the cosmos, not just shaping tools but awakening life. These stories portray creation as collaborative, yet anchored in fire's transformative power, underlining Svarog's role as both craftsman and cosmic agent. While details vary across regions, the core idea remains clear. The sacred fire birthed worlds and life within them. The blacksmith was more than artisan. He was an intermediary between mortal and divine realms, carrying sparks from the forge to shape human destiny. In forging tools, weapons, and ornaments, the smith mirrored Svarog's cosmic labor, translating flame into form. This association elevated smithing beyond craft. It became testament to divine gift and human mastery. Every anvil strike resonated with mythic echoes of the heavenly forge. With the spread of Christianity across Slavic lands, Svarog's worship did not vanish overnight but transformed, merging into the cults of saints like Cosmas and Damian and elements of Elijah the prophet. As new faiths took hold, fire retained sacred associations, even when reinterpreted through Christian symbolism. Folk tales continued to whisper of ancient flames, and hearth rituals kept fragments of his presence alive beneath Christian practice. Through adaptation, the old fire god remained present in cultural memory. Even where formal worship faded, folk belief retained Svarog's essence and symbolism tied to sun, fire, and hearth. Lightning stones, ancient oak groves, and ritual bonfires persisted as focal points of remembrance. People spoke of fire gifts and cosmic flames without always naming the god. But his power underlay such gatherings. Memory of Svarog's influence endured in the crackling hearth and glowing embers of celebration. Symbols such as the spinning solar wheel or kolovrat became enduring emblems of cosmic order and fire's cycle. Its 8 spokes reflected the sun's passage through seasons and the eternal dance of light and darkness. This motif appeared in pottery, embroidery, paisanki, and communal art, reminding each generation of fire's central place in life's rhythm. Through such symbols, Svarog's role as sun forger and cosmic regulator lived on. Scholars have debated Svarog's role. Some see him as supreme creator, others emphasize his function as celestial blacksmith among the pantheon, and yet others propose that in fragments of lore, he represents the sacred fire more than an individualized deity. These differing interpretations reflect the diversity of Slavic mythic thought and the fragmentary nature of sources. However, the core idea persists. Fire as creative power and order giver stands at the center of Svarog's identity. In relation to other deities, Svarog occupied a unique place. Perun, god of thunder, embodied atmospheric fire, while Svarojic and Dazbog carried elements of solar fire and fertility. This division of fire into multiple expressions highlights how central the element was across domains: sky, storm, sun, and hearth. Through such relationships, cosmic fire became the connective tissue of Slavic spiritual imagination. While Slavic creation myths are diverse and not uniformly attested, many later reinterpretations imbue Svarog with responsibility for forming the material world, shaping earth, sea, vegetation, and life itself through fire's transformational heat. Even when framed metaphorically, these motifs signal a deep cultural linkage between creation and the forge fire, where spirit and matter are united in heated crucible. By teaching mortals fire and craft, Svarog was also teaching them how to sustain life. In some mythic visions preserved in folklore and later reinterpretations, Svarog rests within the sky, dormant yet sovereign, his influence perceived in constellations, cosmic fire, and night's quiet glow. Stars were seen as ancestral sparks, remnants of the celestial forge that gave birth to Svarog's creations. Through these images, he stands as both cosmic artisan and watchful ancestor. In contemporary neo-pagan and cultural revivals, Svarog has been re-embraced as a symbol of ancestral fire and creative power, often invoked in rituals celebrating solar cycles and hearth rituals. His image has been reinterpreted through metalwork, painting, poetry, and community celebrations that honor fire's life-giving warmth. This modern awakening continues the ancient legacy of Svarog as a deity whose essence transcends time. Svarog's story of fire made divine, creation shaped by flame, and order established through craft stands as one of the greatest myths of Slavic heritage. He embodies not just power, but transformation, anchoring cosmic forces to human experience. The forge remains eternal in symbol and story, reminding us that creation itself is an act of reconciling chaos with form. In this legacy of fire and smithcraft, Svarog lives on. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, and share your impressions of the video.